Thank you for joining us today. Today we have, almost a full house here of ShapeDiver. We have Alex, our CTO, is going to be presenting a couple of topics. Mathieu, our head of product, is going to take care of the Speckle part. Edwin, head of projects, will take care of the Shopify part. I'll be giving a few insights on our new plans, the new credit system, our developer program, and all of those will stay at the end to the Q&A session that can be as extended as everyone needs, in case you have questions of various topics that you'd like us to address. All right, so thank you for joining. Mathieu, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ezekiel. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi again for a lot of you. I think I've seen some familiar names. So this is our bi-yearly updates on what happens, and Ezekiel already listed a few of the main topics we're going to talk about today. But just to put this in context, I think most of you now by now know about the app builder and how we took ShapeDiver to a bit further than we ever did in terms of really closing the workflow and allowing Grasshopper users to take care of a lot of things that were only possible through APIs or web development or stuff before. So a lot of what we are going to talk about today is very much in the spirit of extending, what one can do with layouts of web application, what one can do with integrations, with data, frame data, etc. So we have essentially two big first parts. I'm going to start with an example that uses a lot of the new features we have, but is based around a Speckle integration. And then Edwin will take over for presenting also a bunch of new features we have, but revolving around the integration of a product in the Shopify store. And after these two big examples, we'll still take a bit of time to talk about some relevant new things that happen. So the new credit system we have, and some new ways to support the users, and some things that are upcoming, especially in terms of AI. And then that should take us about 1 hour. And after that, we're going to stay with whoever still has time to answer questions and discuss further. So don't hesitate to, as Ezekiel mentioned, there's several of us today, as usual. So, when I'm presenting, I'm not going to look at the chat or things, but my colleagues will likely carry questions that are relevant during the talk. And in any case, we'll leave a lot of time at the end of the presentation for all the questions. And of course, we'll record everything today, so you get the live primetime presentation, but on YouTube and on our social media, the recording will be available soon. So I will leave the slides and get started with our first example. So here I tried, I built all the silly examples we have in webinars and tutorials, but here I try to put together a lot of the things that are new in the last 6 months and a bit more in ShapeDiver. And I think as I was finishing this example, I realized that even though this is a silly example, I hope it conveys all the possibilities we have now. And I was actually myself a bit blown away by how much is now possible with just using Grasshopper and deploying the logic as a web application. So in this small application, what I have is this city model with a small pavilion between two buildings, and essentially there's several design options which all revolve around this tensor structure optimization. So this pavilion is defined by two curves on the buildings here, and as you can see here, I have points input which allow me to edit the two boundaries of my pavilion, so changing the shape pretty significantly. And I have an optimize button which then unlocks, as you're probably aware, App Builder allows for contextual interfaces, so it unlocks new parameters that are part of my model, which are optimization parameter, where I optimize for the pavilion to be a tensor structure. So I can play a bit with those parameters, and as I play, what I did here is to add an analysis tab, which provides a heat map of the planarity of all panels, of all the glass panels of my pavilion, right? So as you can see, as I update those parameters, we have different heat maps for the planarity of panels. And the last thing I have here is, of course, the Speckle part. So essentially, through this design app, I can design a structure which I can then export to Speckle. And that's in my interface here is done by just giving the address of a stream in Speckle, and then I'm able to send data here. So I'm already going to do this, which will close the presentation of this model, and then I'll go to Grasshopper to look a bit at the details of how all of this is implemented in Grasshopper. But yeah, the first thing is that here, if I have, I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with Speckle, but essentially what I can do in Speckle is have these models, and essentially a model can be updated. So essentially there's data that can be synchronized, so imported from all the connectors that Speckle has or exported back to those connectors, which allows, of course, for interoperability and collaboration on projects. And in my case, if I create a new model that I call Pavilion, I can then copy the link of this model called Pavilion, and I can go back to my app here, enter the link. My definition checks that everything is that this link is valid essentially, and then lets me send data to the model. So a new version, you can send different versions to models. And once this synchronization is complete, I can go back. Well, I can directly click here. Essentially, I get in Grasshopper also directly the URL. I'll go back to my dashboard, and I can see here that my model updated with a new version of the model, which is here. I just exported the metal structure of the pavilion. Okay, so that's essentially what this first example does. And now, if I look a bit in Grasshopper, we can see my definition, which I try to organize as much as possible. And by the way, it will be updated to our help center after the webinar, so you'll be able to start from this definition and look at how everything is done here. But essentially, besides the main algorithm here, which takes my curves, designs the pavilions, and then uses Kangaroo to do the optimization, and then displays the end results, right? So here I have my pavilion, here the environment geometry. But what I wanted to start by showing is the Speckle part, right? So there's a couple of important things to note about Speckle. Is that Speckle is currently in a transition phase, and they're upgrading all their connectors, their so-called connectors, to new versions, version 3. But if so if you go here in Speckle and you look at the resources, so connectors, you'll see the list of new connectors that can be installed, but the new version of the Grasshopper connectors does not exist yet. So right now the connection works with the legacy connectors. So here you can, on this page, there's a way to go to the legacy connectors, which work with this manager. So if you install the Speckle manager here, which is what I have already installed, you'll see the list of the legacy connectors, so the ones that some of them will last longer, probably some of them will be replaced soon. I think Grasshopper will take a while still. So for now, installing this version, the version 2 of the Grasshopper connector, is what's needed for the connection. Of course, as soon as the new version is out, we're going to update our servers and support it as well. But now, if I look at Grasshopper, once I've installed this connector, I can see the Speckle plugin in Grasshopper. And this is what I need to synchronize data. So again, some of you might already be familiar with the Grasshopper connector of Speckle, and then you know that you probably use the send and receive components in Grasshopper to send data to models, Speckle models, or retrieve data from models. But as you might know, then if you're already familiar with those components are asynchronous, and also have this interface with buttons. So essentially, you need to interact with the canvas in order to send and receive the data inside Grasshopper. So they're only useful for local work. But once you upload files to ShapeDiver, obviously this type of interfaces cannot work, which is why we worked with the Speckle team to create 2 new components. So they created those 2 new components, which work well in the context of a server environment. So the synchronous sender and receiver, which in my definition, I have the synchronous sender here, which is the one used to send data to a stream. And the second thing is that there's several ways to authenticate to streams inside the plugin. And again, in terms of the context of distant servers, including the ShapeDiver context. The only way that works to do this authentication is to use this stream get with token component, which is part of the plugin. And essentially, this component works, retrieves a stream in your Speckle account by specifying its link. So the same one that I used in my app here, I can also here copy the link and feed it to the stream get with token component, so the stream input here. In my definition, of course, I exposed it through a text input, which means that users can directly input their own stream in the app here, right? And the second input of this component is an authentication token, which is the way to authenticate to your own Speckle account through the component, right, in this synchronous way. And this can be done, so these tokens can be generated by going to the settings of the Speckle account, the developer settings here. And here are access tokens, right? And here I created already several for my personal tests, but you can create new tokens here, give them names. And in order for the Speckle connection to work with Grasshopper, one needs to enable several scopes here, the profile reads, streams read, and streams write, which allows Grasshopper to read from the streams of your account and to write also new data to streams inside your account. So once it's generated, this string here can be fed into this component, which allows the component to log in, and then I can send data using the synchronous sender to the stream, or retrieve data using the synchronous receiver component, right? So that's essentially, it's quite simple how to send and receive data. It's a nice setup. The only thing here, which the more developer side of the audience today might already have jumped in their seats, is that it's not so safe to handle sensitive data such as API tokens, passwords, and stuff, and copy them and paste them in the panel on the canvas in Grasshopper. So that's something that we don't recommend in general. And by the way, the Speckle component makes it very clear in all caps that you should be careful and not paste this data in the file itself. So essentially not do what I just did, which is why, and Speckle is one big part of it, but we did it for several reasons, because we also have users that, for example, try to authenticate to their OpenAPI account through their API keys or other APIs which required authentications. And these users usually, need at the moment to copy and paste those keys in the Grasshopper canvas. So the idea we had here is to allow essentially to store this data in a secure place on the ShapeDiver platform, and to be able to retrieve it in Grasshopper through authentication to your ShapeDiver account, so protected behind your ShapeDiver account. So I'm going to show here how to replace this unsafe version of the workflow with the safe one. So here I'm in my ShapeDiver dashboard, obviously. And if you go to your settings and developer settings, we have, since about a week now, a new section here called Secret Keys for Grasshopper, which is used exactly for that, right? You can add any data string, give it a name. So here, sensitive password, and here I can copy any password that I don't want to expose in Grasshopper. And once that's done, this is stored in your ShapeDiver account, and you can go to Grasshopper and as a first step, log into your account. So here I'm already logged in, by the way, but I'm not sure if all of you are aware of this. It's possible to log in to your ShapeDiver account directly inside Grasshopper, which is a feature that's already used for several workflows, for example, using our desktop clients, or here the client plugin, which allows to retrieve and compute data from remote ShapeDiver models. So it works a bit like Hops, but on the cloud, let's say. But in our case, the fact that I'm connected to my account now will allow me to use this new secret input component, which we just added also to the plugin for a couple of weeks. And this secret input is exactly used for that. Here, if I add it to my canvas, I go to the secret name submenu here, and I see the list of all the token names that I stored in my ShapeDiver account. So I can pick one here. In my case, I want to pick my Speckle token that I stored, and I can connect it directly here to the component and remove this unsafe panel with my sensitive data. So of course here, since you're logged into your account, the data is and lives on the canvas because you do need it. There's no way around it. This data is needed in the Speckle key component. It's going to be needed also if you start using any API and use, for example, the Swiftlet component to authenticate to REST APIs. But the thing is that you need to be authenticated. So, for example, if this Grasshopper definition leaks or you share it with someone, this person will essentially, this component will not be able to retrieve the key, and this person will have to use their own keys or generate it in some other way. All right, so that's it. What I wanted to show for the Speckle side of things. I just wanted now to go back to the model and look a bit at the inputs side of things. So in our last, we've had now several ways to interact with geometry directly inside the viewer. I think a lot of you are aware. There's a way to draw polylines, like I've already shown in this model, or to manipulate gumball or to select geometry in the viewer. I just wanted to mention that there's some new features here. So here, in my case, I have these two polylines as input, the boundary start and end of my curve, of my pavilion. And we added the ability here to define the grid units used for snapping points when you edit the points, right? So before that, there was a grid that was automatically generated in the viewer, but now you're allowed to control this and essentially restrict a bit more. I mean, it's not restricting, but control a bit more and provide some guides to users interacting with geometry in the viewer. All right, so that's what I wanted to mention about this example. No, I'm forgetting exactly. Sorry about this. I'm forgetting the last part of it, which is this nice heat map, which for some reason here did not render. So I'll reload my app. So this nice heat map here that I generated to show the planarity of panels. So again, you might be, if you've been using the app builder, you might be aware that there are ways to generate native graphs, so data visualization elements in apps, bar charts, run charts, line charts, area charts. In my case, those type of elements were not so convenient to show the data I wanted to show in my app. So I looked a bit further, and essentially, I think with Christoph, the Grasshopper tutor on LinkedIn, suggested to use Plotly, which is a Python library that's used widely for data visualization. And that was a great way to essentially demonstrate or remind the community that we support scripting inside Grasshopper when uploading to ShapeDiver. And when you're using Rhino 8, the added bonus is that both the C# and Python components support external packages, external libraries. So here in our documentation, I'm opening the page. That's a current list of packages we support, which is not so big, but keep in mind that we don't have so many needs in our team for these libraries. But essentially, this list of libraries we support is extended every time users ask for new libraries. So, but in this case, we decided to add Plotly because we thought it would be quite useful to extend the data visualization possibilities on ShapeDiver. And that's why here I'm using the data, so the planarity values of all the panels in my definition. And I just have a small script that generates a graph using Plotly. So this actually the script uses numpy and Plotly. I'm not sure how to pronounce them. So just as a comment, we even on ShapeDiver support theoretically all external packages as long as they make sense in the context of ShapeDiver and Grasshopper. But they are not all installed. As I just showed you, there's a list of the packages that are already installed by default. But it's still we still support this on-the-fly installation of packages, which can be done with those comments here. So for example, #R, and then for example, if I go look at the Plotly page, Python Plotly, it's on Yeah, exactly. And here, if you look at the libraries, you can already you can always see which version you want to install. Here, okay, so the latest one. I don't remember the syntax exactly. I forgot it. But essentially, you can require the version of the package you want, and the Rhino 8 version of the scripts will on the fly install those packages, right? So you can still do that on ShapeDiver. The only issue is that installing these packages takes usually a bit of time. So if you really need to use external packages that we don't have pre-installed on servers, you can always contact us so we can pre-install them, see that they make sense, pre-install them, and then you can execute the scripts as efficiently as possible without having to download them every time. All right, so that's rounds up everything I wanted to show about this example. And I think actually Edwin will show a bit more to introduce some more new features we have before transitioning to another model and the Shopify example. All right, so Edwin, I will stop
sharing. Thank you, Mathieu. And just to remind everyone, everything that you saw was entirely using Grasshopper. There was no extra line of code needed. I mean, besides the obviously Python thing that you might need to complete the model, but everything you saw on the final online application was entirely using Grasshopper, using App Builder from ShapeDiver, right? Previously, 1-2 years ago, you would have needed to use web development, our APIs. You probably would need cross collaboration between teams, the computational designers, the software developers. Now, all computational designers are empowered to finish the entire project on your own without needing support from external teams, which we believe, and we've seen since we introduced App Builder, the accelerations of projects that actually are finished because the computational designers can complete the project on their own, right? So we encourage everyone, just like Mathieu showed today, to try all of the new features that we're adding to our App Builder. Just so the drawing tools, super useful. The gumball, we didn't show it today, it's also super useful. Clickable elements, all of these things are available as a Grasshopper component, part of our Grasshopper plugin already. So if you install the latest version of our Grasshopper plugin, you will have all of those components that enable you to activate these features in App Builder. We have maybe a quick question that you can answer here, Mathieu, because can we display this kind of heat map graph by using native components rather than Plotly?
Not yet. So that's the point, and that's also the point of for us extending the support of libraries in Python and C# and support of scripting in general. We use that a bit to bridge the gap, right? So the App Builder framework, as we developed it, and Edwin is currently showing the list of components we have. We're constantly expanding it, right? So we at first we only had a couple of widgets to display images, text, parameters. We added the charts. We added some actions, which Edwin will show in the context of Shopify. And we're gonna add more, right? But there's so many different use cases that what we wanted is also to make sure that some flexibility through scripting components is also available. But in the case of the heat map, the example is there. As I said, I'm gonna share it in the documentation. So if you're interested in heat maps, the script is already there and we can use it as I made it.
Okay, then I will get started. So just to finalize that question, so basically without the scripting, you can see in the screen which components create which kind of charts. So you have area charts, bar charts, line charts, and round charts. That you can do without the scripting. Beyond that, for now, you need to use the scripting. Or actually, I made a LinkedIn post not that long ago about a plugin that we also support that doesn't require scripting, that is called Graphics Plus. So if you look in the package manager for Graphics Plus, that allows you to create all sort of graphics. I mean, you have to build it by your own, step by step, but you can parametrically create any graphics that you need and also display them through a builder and through in a web app just by connecting that output SVG file. So here in the output, you have a SVG file. This one also has here the option to output a SVG file. And then that just comes here. There you get the parametrically created graphic, and that's what you will display then in your UI via this image widget. So the image widget is part of our components in Grasshopper App Builder. Here we have the image widget, And then one option is you put a URL, which means a static images, or another option is you put a export name, so one of our export components, and that means it's an image that is generated on the fly, then that goes into the widget, and then that gets displayed in the UI. Okay, and another thing I just wanted to help Matthew at the end with this syntax. So that's in the documentation of Rhino, the Rhino documentation, where you can see how you can install these external packages. How is the syntax to do that? Okay, now I really start with my part. So my part is about, well, I'm going to start with this model that Matthew created. And I'm just going to do some changes here. So if I start to move this, as Matthew showed, then I go confirm. And then, okay, I think the problem here is when you put it down. So let me try again. I'm going to edit the top one. Then I'm going to edit the other side, let's say somewhere there, somewhere crazy. And then let's say I want to optimize this. When I optimize this, this is using Kanguru, so that's why it takes a bit longer to compute, because Kanguru is trying to see what's the best way to optimize these panels. Then let's say I change the length factor. And then after I do all of that, okay, let's say I'm happy with what I did. Now I want to share with somebody. How do I do that? How do I save all of these steps that I did, all of these changes that I did, and don't lose this data, and I'm able to share that with somebody? And that's done with this button that you see here. So if I save this configuration, that will create an ID. You see a notification here that says this ID was created, but you also see here the URL has changed, and it was automatically changed adding with this ID. So now, for example, if I copy this and I share it with my colleagues or something, I can just paste it here. Then I will be able to see the model starting from that step that I saved. So that's one use case for save states. The way you add this save configuration there is with an action. So in Grasshopper, if you go to App Builder section, you have here the actions. We are still in beta, and here you have the create model state action. And that automatically generates this save configuration section there. So I think that one is this one, yeah. So basically, it's just this component that is a create model state action component that goes into, in this case, I put it into a tab. The tab is called design parameters. So I see here there is a tab called design parameters. And then that goes into the left container. So I'm here in the left container of my app. So it works like any other parameter. So I just need to show exactly where I want this action to be positioned. In this case, the save configuration action. And that's it. And with that, then you will be able to click on it. You get this ID. That's one use case. Okay, another use case of saving these configurations is, for example, let's say I want to change this a bit more. There was an option. And maybe I won't be able to do it here, but basically, okay, let's say I like what I'm seeing right now, but I want to now continue my work in Grasshopper, or maybe I see a issue in the model and I need to find out what's happening. Now, basically, for debugging this specific state, or for to be able to continue the work with this specific state, I can first of all save it. So I have now my new ID. I can just copy this URL. I go back to Grasshopper. Here you have a new tab called ShapeDiver. Go to parameter values, and here it says load from state. I just paste there my URL, the one that I just generated. I say OK. That will go to our servers, call all of the parameters. Here it's telling me, OK, all of these parameters will be updated. I say close. And then that's it. Now I have a specific, exactly what I have in ShapeDiver. Now I have it also in Grasshopper. So from here, I can continue and testing maybe why this planarity cannot be further. What could I do to make this more planar? So maybe I need to do some changes in Kanguru. And then in that way, you can easily test easily continue your work between ShapeDiver and Grasshopper by using this model state ID. Okay, that's the part of the safe ID. I will share more about it later in the webinar. Now let's say that, okay, now I like how the configurator works, but I don't like how it looks. Maybe I want, maybe my brand looks different. Maybe the brand of my company has different colors. Then I want to be able to change all of these colors. For that, we have something called themes. Here is our documentation, help.shapediver.com, and we explain all about themes. But basically, themes are a JSON file, which in which you store all of the colors and all of the different CSS formatting that you want for your app. All of this is done through this library, Mantin. So theoretically, whatever that is supported by Mantin, we're able to also support it, but not all is exposed. So if you want something specific and is still not exposed in our themes, then you can just let us know, and then we can let you know whether that's in our priorities or how could that work. And basically, we have mapped that into a JSON file that we read automatically in our app builder, and we change in that way how the UI looks like. So, for example, if I come here, that theme is created by adding here a query. In this case, it's just G, and then I put equal. And if I do it like this, then I have some saved ones here. So it's just a JSON file that I have saved in some server. So I just have the link of this JSON file. Then I put that as with this query called G, and then I just load that. And then, well, now we have different colors that I defined. So when I hover, then I get this color, for example. I can show you another example of another option. So for example, this one. So now you can really change how your app looks by changing colors, changing, for example, if you see here, the buttons are squarish, whereas if we see the original one, those buttons were round. So these little details that normally are more meant for like the brand of the company, how your website looks, then should reflect how the app builder looks like. So these kind of things you can change quite a lot by using this JSON formatting. We are working on how to make this JSON easier to use, how to make it easier for you to edit it. Maybe we will use LLMs for you to be able to on the fly create this, or other. We have other ideas of how to make it, but for now, you have an entire documentation here in our help center where you can learn how to use this theme. You can use ChatGPT yourself and just feed it there and say, now I want these colors. And probably ChatGPT will do everything for you, but at the end, you just upload that JSON somewhere, and then you change your theme. Okay, now I want to open another example. This is now a ring, so different industry, jewelry. And here I'm going to try another theme that I have here saved as well. So also looks different. And now, okay, now I changed my UI, but now I want to change also how my model looks like. Now in this case, we have jewelry. So, well, I don't see my metals. I don't see my stones looking nice. So how can I improve that further? So one way is, of course, using our components, where you can create your own materials, as it has been always. But now we're working in some integrations. So if, for example, I just change this, I hope I write it well, otherwise I will just get it from somewhere quickly. I had it here saved. Yeah, so if I just change the main branch to iJewel 3D, then we will see that now we have a nice rendering. And the reason why now we changed all of the sudden from this completely gray model to a completely, let's say, rendered, ready model with stones, metals, etc., is because we're using now a different viewer. We are not using ShapeDiver viewer, but we are integrating now ShapeDiver and in the background Grasshopper, so a completely parametric model with external viewers. In this case, we're using the technology of iJewel 3D, which is a company that specializes in rendering of jewelry. So that's their only goal, is to make the best rendering in jewelry. So of course, our viewer is focused on a general viewer for all sort of industries. This one is specialized specifically for jewelry. So we just connected what they have created to ShapeDiver, and now you can get the best rendering that there is online for jewelry in this case. They also have a playground. So here we have playground.iJewel3d.com. They have now version 2. And in this playground, I can they have some, I can either draw my own model, or they have already some prepared models here and some presets here where I can preset all of my materials, play with them, see, okay, what would look better. So they have an entire library, so it's easy for jewelers to set up their jewelry. And as soon as you are ready, you can even save all of what you've done into a it's also a JSON file, but that's generated automatically. Here in the exports, you can get that JSON file and make it even look better. So for example, here, if I reload this again, you will see that the model loads with a kind of weird camera view. I don't have here a ground. All of this is part of their viewer, and all of that you can change to their playground. And you can also add that here in the URL as WebGI scene. And then if we load that, then now we have a nice camera, we have a nice ground, we even have some reflections in the ground. All of that you set here in this playground, you save it, and then you can just use it with ShapeDiver. Now you have complete parametric model looking sharp. Here we have also the same option of, in this case, it's called share link, but it's just the same action that we had here to save a model state ID. So if I share this link, basically it's just also creating this ID, which now I can share with anybody. It's the same feature that I was checking before here, which in this case we just call it save configuration. Here it's called save link, but it's share link, but it's the same thing. Okay, now we have all of these pieces. Now we have iJewel, we have all of these saved IDs, we have a theme, but now we want to pack this in a nice way so that you can use it easily. And especially for jewelry, well, you need to use that for selling. No, you want to sell your jewelry. So what's the best way to do it? Through an e-commerce platform. And what's one of the best e-commerce platforms nowadays? Shopify. So that's why we have created our own Shopify plugin, where you can now take all of these that we have shown right now, which is completely independent from Shopify. You can use all of these for AC, furniture, whatever industry you are in. But now, if you if that industry requires some e-commerce integration, you can do that easily through Shopify. So if you go to apps.shopify.com and we look for ShapeDiver, you will see two options here. You will select the official one, and here you can install our plugin. And the first thing that you will need to set up, of course, is your billing. You can go to the billing and set up all of that part. And when you are ready, well, you have a starting page with all of where you find all of the links or where you find the documentation to use a builder, to use the Shopify app. If we go to the setup section, then our CTO created a very easy step-by-step guide of what do you have to do to connect your ShapeDiver account with a Shopify account. So everything gets connected, and then when you are all set up, you can start adding your products. When you are done with your setup, then we can go into the settings section of the Shopify plugin. So in the settings section is where we can start to feed all of these little parts that we were checking. So for example, we check the theme. The theme is a JSON file. It's just a URL. So now we have a field here for the theme. So the theme that we were now just adding here into the URL, now I can just add it here in the Shopify, in this Shopify section. Here in this configurator URL is where I can add, for example, that I want this to run in iJewel 3D. So I could do that, for example, and then that means this will automatically open using the iJewel. If you don't fill this up, that means it will use our normal viewer. And you can add here also additional URL parameters. In this case, I'm using the WebGI scene. That is the one that changes my camera position. But I also can add here other parameters. Which parameters? The majority of these parameters are parameters that also exist in your model, in your Grasshopper model. I will show a bit more about that later, so it's more clear. And the next things is not relevant for now. So when you are done with setting up everything for the connection with Shopify, then we can go and create our first product. So we go to the product section in Shopify, we go add product, I give it a name, test, I save it. So it's just normal Shopify things here. I'm not doing anything other than what Shopify offers. And what is extra when you install our app is that when you go to more actions, you have now this option, configure ShapeDiver app builder. So if you open that, I will open a new window. And here is where you will now connect the exact model that you want to use. So in this case, I have this model that I showed before, and there is two ways to connect it. I either use a Slack. That means if I go to this link in ShapeDiver, you see up here, I have my Slack. So I can just paste that here. Or I can use the embedding ticket and model view URL. That's something that you find here below. In developer section, you get a ticket and you get a model view URL. You can paste that there, and that will also connect to that specific model that you uploaded into ShapeDiver. Then you can access here all of the global settings. So all of this part that we set up can be now accessed for specific products. So that I can say, okay, for this specific product, do I want to connect it to my global parameter or not? If I say yes, then that means I'm going to use the theme of my global settings. The same happens with the configurator URL and the other parameters that I already explained. When you are done, then you save. And then if we preview this, I think I forgot one more step. You have to enable the configurator here. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, so when you enable the configurator, you get this extra button. That's our part when you go to any Shopify store. Our part is to get an extra button that says configure. You just click on it. That will open automatically App Builder. So if I just click on it, I will open App Builder. And that's it. I can just start using my model in Shopify and selling in Shopify. I have here another one that it's already set up with the other things that I showed before. So if I preview this one, you can see you can put the normal Shopify things, your pictures, etc., the base price. Then when I configure, then the model opens up, and this one already has all of the other things set up. So I have here that I want to use iJewel 3D, and that I want to use this WebGI scene. And an additional thing that I have here is this URL parameter called admin mode. If I go into the Grasshopper model, this parameter, admin mode, is also here. And what this does, it gives me extra access to other things in the model. So for example, if I open this model, I think I have to do one more change here. Just that. And then if I open this model in testing mode, here you have an option to open it in testing mode, so not in the store, because in the store, you cannot, in the store you just see the store URL, you don't see the actual app builder URL, whereas this one gives you the app builder URL. So starting with app builder, gives you all of the link that I showed before, how to set it up. And here at the end, I can say, okay, but I want to access this. You can see that that was added into my URL, this admin mode option, which is just a parameter in my model. And I can change that to true. And I get here some extra options in my model. So in this case, this extra options is the options to export. In this case, I want to export the watertight mesh of this model. So if I process this, then that will process my my component here. Is the component that is shrink wrap. That is something new from Rhino 8. Very powerful component that gives us a completely watertight mesh. So if I process that, then I can say, okay, I want to export this as a, and then I can say as a 3D file, as a STL file, as an OBJ file. All of these are parameters that exist in my model. So all of these are parameters that I have here, and that I have decided while creating my UI, I have decided that these specific parameters are just shown when I am in admin mode. No, I don't want my clients in Shopify to be downloading this watertight mesh. I just want to do it myself, or I want that maybe to send it to somebody. That's the second option that I have here. That option is here. So I either can download it directly with the download export component from ShapeDiver, or I want to email it to somebody with the email component from ShapeDiver. So if I want to email it to somebody, I can put here the email, and then let's say I want to send it to the person that is going to 3D print it. So I put here the email of the person, I send the email, and that email will contain this mesh. For now, I will just download the file. Here we have it. I will open it here. So here we have a preview of this watertight mesh. So all of these parts, all of these connections through the shrink wrap component are being solved by the shrink wrap, so that everything is a single object, a single mesh watertight. This is even more powerful when we then connect this with model states. So again, with saving configurations, what we were doing here, saving configurations. Why? Because, well, the user, when they are in Shopify, they will order one of these rings. So if we go to if we go here to this model, I can start to change my ring. Let's say I don't want accent stones. Let's say I want a smaller center shank. I want a smaller head as well. Let's say I want an emerald instead. So start to see all of the changes. I'm done. I also calculate the price here. This price is calculated also in Grasshopper. So here I have all of the calculation of the price, taking the price of gold, for example, multiplying it by the weight of my gold here, so that I get the price, and I have a price per stone and per headstone. Then I get a final price, and then when I add to cart, then I get a notification again that was added to cart, and then I get here in my cart that this ring is already there. How did I get that into the Shopify cart? Through another action. So if I come here into the UI, I have used here the add to cart action. It is here, add to cart action. And then in this one, I'm just giving it the price, so that Shopify knows, well, how much am I going to charge, and a description. This description is the one that you see also here. I see here this description, and I say, okay, this is how much I'm going to charge. And additionally, this component also automatically generates a model state ID. So it does the same that our model state ID action, but with Shopify by adding it to the cart and showing all of this extra data here. So that's what you see here. I now see a configuration ID. And even if I click on this configuration ID, that jumps into my specific product again, opens the app again, and now I see again the exact same thing that I did. Let's say maybe, I forgot, maybe I want it to be smaller, or I want to do extra changes, so I go back into it, and I can do other changes, and again add it to cart. But now I have this ID, and what can I do with this ID? All what I said previously. So I can come here and I can say I need to add. I want to add all of this into my URL here. So now I can access this ring that I just created in Shopify, but in dev mode, in the admin mode, I call it here. So now I can process this water mesh, or I can download it, send it to somebody, or something like that. Or I can also take that exact URL, come into here, parameter values, load from a state, paste it here, say, okay, that will go to our servers, get all of the data that needs to be changed. I close. And now we have exactly the same thing that I have in Shopify, exactly the same thing that I had in App Builder. Now I have it in Grasshopper, and I can move forward from there. Okay, so I think that's it.
There is one question, Edwin, by Rodrigo Lopez. Are users able to reload the save state in the configurator? And I think you just showed the answer to that question. I'm imagining, Rodrigo, that what you're asking is, if I am a client and I'm using the configurator, can I reload previous save states that I save and I add to the cart? No, and I think that's what just Edwin just showed. You could add multiple models to the cart, and each of those models will have its own configuration ID that you can jump to if you want to change something of that from that order. No, I think that's exactly what you just showed.
Yeah, I mean, this ID basically saves the pair of names and values, or IDs and values of each parameter that you have in your model. So now you can just save that ID, and that's what you can use for whatever you need it to load it in Grasshopper. Or even another thing that I forgot to mention here, even if I'm configuring a product, I can add the slug, but I can also add a model state ID. So I can have multiple products in Shopify that use the same Grasshopper model, so the same slug, but they have a different starting point. So for example, here, if I use the one that I just created, and I save these settings, when I open this model, instead of using the standard, the default model, now I'm using the model state also as my starting point. So you can have, like, I don't know, 100 rings, all of them driven by the same Grasshopper models, but different model state, and there are 100 products in Shopify in this case, but all of them manage to do the same thing.
Yeah, that answers the last question we just got, to link multiple Shopify products to a single model. So
correct. So that's as we're there. Yeah. You do that through here, model state ID. And the final thing that I want to show is another example of a client. It's Woodtech. And this company also have already an integration in e-commerce integration. Same thing, you see a configure now option there. Now they have taken this to the next level. Now in this case, furniture. So there is many things that you can do here, which all of them rely on what is capable, what App Builder can do. So for example, here I can go to cabinets and I can say I want to select an exact cabinet. So I want to select this one. So all of these are the clickable elements that Ezequiel was mentioning, all of that driven through Grasshopper. And then I can say, okay, now I want this cabinet to be this length. I want this to not be shelves, but to be drawers, for example. And then in this case, I don't know, it's the Grasshopper model. I don't know why that didn't work. But you can change there anything that you need to. Let's say you have a mirror option here. Yeah, so all of that changes the model. And same thing, you add to cart. When you add to cart, all of these prices being calculated also in Grasshopper. This gets added to the cart. And also you get a model state ID, the same thing that I said before. And you also see that this one also looks very different, also because they have their own theme, their own font, their own everything. So it's App Builder, it's all the same in the background, the same technology, but using all of the features that I just explained. An additional thing to mention about this is that these companies actually not using Shopify, but they are using WooCommerce. They're using, in this case, WordPress. So we have an integration for Shopify, but we also have an integration for WooCommerce, which is WordPress. So if you have any of those two, if you're using any of those two platforms, we now support them for your Shopify store, for your e-commerce store.
Just obviously a word of advice. I mean, the WooCommerce plugin that we have is open source. So we have a GitHub repository that anyone can access, download, fork. You can modify it the way you want. It's free. The Shopify, it requires a bit more development, more maintenance, more setup. That one's not free. It has an added cost, but you get a free trial as well. And in general, what we did is we simplified the way to connect your ShapeDiver account to the Shopify account. You can, of course, choose to not use our Shopify plugin. You can choose to create your own integration by using our APIs and Shopify's APIs, but then you're in charge of maintaining that integration. If we change our APIs or Shopify changes their APIs, then you have to keep going, that maintenance. And then it's a little bit more annoying. If you want to avoid all of those things, you can choose to use our plugin, and we're constantly adding new features. We're constantly, obviously, providing support. We're here for you. So we do recommend if anyone is already thinking about selling on Shopify, we recommend you to have a look at what our current Shopify plugin can do. You can contact us through our website. If you guys want us to give you a private tour of it, an explanation of everything that Edwin just explained, we can definitely do that, right? But again, just showing that this is almost entire, maybe just the Shopify theme, the theme that requires the JSON, but it's super easy to, with ChatGPT, what Edwin mentioned, super easy to adapt the UI. Other than that, it's literally just Grasshopper, right? So, okay, good. Anything else, Edwin?
No, that's all from my side.
I think we already lasted a bit over time. So we can take the questions as they come. So start with the questions, but we also wanted to talk about a couple of other features that we have. So we'll mix questions and mentioning some other features. I mean, the first thing I wanted to say is to add on Edwin's example using this admin mode for the model and the email exports, that we extended our email export component recently. That's one of the new features, so that it can send emails to several addresses. So the CC, BCC, and reply to addresses can all be defined in the components, which is a good way to close this workflow using Shopify, right? When getting an order on Shopify, then trigger an email that sends an email both to yourself and to the clients, and make sure this is in control. So that's one of the latest things we released, which makes the component also very powerful now, because what we released a couple of months ago is also the possibility to export zip files, so a set of several files using a single email export component, email or download button. But yeah, we can, before talking about a couple of other features, there's a question about testing iJewel. And if it's possible with a basic account, which I'm assuming is a free account. And at the moment, I assume, Ezekiel, that with a free account, iJewel is not accessible, right?
No, if you're interested in iJewel, contact us through the contact request form, so we can explain how iJewel works. Like I said, it's a separate company. You will need your license from them, because of course they spend a lot of time working on their technology. But once you have your license from iJewel, then we can discuss integrating it into your ShapeDiver account. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I want to go real quick through the new plans, credit system, and the developer program for anyone interested. So earlier this year, I think second week of January, we introduced a new collection of plans and a new credit system. We basically heard all of the feedback from all of our existing users and clients, and all of that feedback led us to these new subscription plans. Right? We have the starter plan, we have business, enterprise, we also have a hybrid plan. So we're not going to go into a lot of details here because, of course, this requires quite a bit of time. You guys can contact us through the contact request form. I can then give you a call and we can go through all of this into more detail. But the plans are now more powerful thanks to our new credit system. Our new credit system allows us to offer higher computation times that were previously much more expensive. Even the free plan, for example, now has 30 seconds of computation time, which was previously only attainable with business. Right? Business now has 60 seconds of computation time. Right? So all of these technical details of each plan is you guys can find it here in the comparison table of our pricing section. And so obviously highlights are higher computation times and higher exports as well. So we doubled our exports for business, for hybrid. So there are much higher exports here. And we really recommend for anyone interested to just check our pricing page. Also, if you're getting started for new clients, we have a developer program that gives you up to 3 months at 50% off discount. Right? This allows you to access the full extent of the plan, access onboarding calls with our teams. Basically, we can discuss technical details about your project, right? At a 50% off for up to 3 months. Right? There are no commercial activities allowed during this period. It's purely for development purposes. But if you're starting a project, if you want to ensure you are, you're taking care of your budget, then with this, you get 50% off and you can choose any of our plans. And for the monthly payment, you get 50% discount. But overall, we have a documentation section where we explain the new credit system, and this comparison table should allow you to understand what are the new limits for our plans. Even the free account got a huge upgrade. You can now export. You can now use scripted components. We're going to be adding new limits also, new more features coming up in the next few weeks. But yeah, we're trying to give as many features as possible to all of our users. And the new credit system is what's allowed us to do that, which we explain in more detail in our documentation. Now, what happens for existing clients with older plans? Well, you're not forced to change. You can keep that plan if you like, right? It has the legacy credit system, which of course does not have the benefits of the new credit system. But if you're comfortable with the plan that you have, with the features that are included in them, you're not forced to change. You can keep it for as long as you want, right? But if you're looking into our new plans and some of them sound interesting, then by all means, contact us or start a trial directly from your billings section, and then you'll be able to start using the new features that we include here. All right, good. So,
all right, thank you, Ezekiel. So I think that's a good time for everyone who got stayed with us for so long and heard all the pricing side of things, for Alex to talk to us for a couple of minutes about a feature that's very beta right now, but it can already be tested and It's going to be more deeply integrated in the near future. So Alex, I'll let you talk about our AI agent.
All right, many thanks. I hope you can see my screen already. Can you?
Yes, you can.
Perfect. You see the configurator or the
Yes, we see a builder and yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so some words about development we have been working on in the recent months. We were thinking of actually plugging an AI agent to AppBuilder because it's configurators can become complex. The user interface can become complex. So it's like an obvious possibility is to provide a natural language interface to a configurator. So what we did is develop a prototype for an AI agent, which is now available for all models that make use of AppBuilder. So I'm gonna show you an example model here and then explain to you in a few minutes how that works and what's important when working with it. This configurator, let's just ask the agent what we can do here. What can I do here? The agent knows about all the parameters of the model, and it knows context that I provide to it from Grasshopper. So it told me that this is a configurator about a bookshelf, that I can change certain options. Maybe let's ask what are the options I have. I guess it should tell me now about the parameters that this model has. Let's see. Actually, the agent works by communicating with OpenAI's API. So in this case, it gave us a list of all the parameters that the agent actually has access to. If we if we show the parameters that we exposed here using AppBuilder, it's actually a list of a few sliders. And as we can see, the agent in this case knows about more parameters, so it really knows all the parameters of the model. So you can use that agent essentially to expose possibilities to your users which you don't render in the user interface, if you wish. For example, let's say I want to start changing parameters now. So far, I only ask questions about the configurator itself. Let's say I prefer like having another number of compartments here. Change to 2x2 compartments. Let's see what it gets what I say. Yes, it does. So it actually changed parameters for the layout. Let's ask some further questions. For example, how wide is that bookshelf? That's information that's not really encoded in the parameters. Although the context that's provided from Grasshopper should allow the agent to answer this. So how wide is the shelf? Oh, yeah, and it gave the correct answer, 1746 millimeters. So how does this work in general? In order to show that, I'm gonna switch on a parameter here for debugging, which is gonna show the prompt that's made available to the LLM. So you see here actually the system prompt that we are giving to the chatbot, and then a string that's coming from Grasshopper, from my Grasshopper model. So that's a string you can output from your Grasshopper model to explain what this configurator can do. So here we explain in general what this product is about, how the parameters influence the model, and then the agent here in AppBuilder combines all of this information into a single prompt that contains this system message to the LLM, the instructions from the Grasshopper author, but also a description of all the available parameters and how they can be changed and what are their constraints, right? So this information you make available from Grasshopper, and from that point on, essentially, the agent knows enough context to actually change parameters. So I could now start asking it questions like, make the bookshelf as small as possible, or make it as big as possible, or whatnot. Of course, it's just an academic example, but if you have a configurator that has quite a lot of options, the AI agent should allow you to strip down the complexity for the end user. All of this is already documented in our help center on how to use it. You can download an example Grasshopper model that shows how to use that AI agent widget component in Grasshopper. It's still better. It's still gonna likely change in one way or the other. And of course, it's gonna be improved, but it's already available for you to use and give it a try. If you run into any issues or you have feedback about this, please either let us know about it on the forum in our community catch-ups that Mathieu actually holds every week, or onboarding calls that you can book from our platform.
I think this is a super feature, because sometimes, as a creator of the Grasshopper file, of course, all the context of that file is obvious to you. But when you're sharing a file with someone that's completely new to what you just created, well, yeah, sure, you can explain, okay, that, yeah, my model can do this, and that, right? But if you're not there present with them in a room, or you didn't send them an extensive email explaining everything that the model can do, then the best option is just to have this LLM and just tell your user, hey, just ask the LLM what it can do. Tell a little bit of context of what you want. Hey, my room is 4x6. Give me a model that can fit in my room. Right? That type of natural language, we believe that will be way more common in the future. And as more tools come available by companies like OpenAI, for example, the voice mode, things like that, we see a future where you can actually talk to the model, right? And the model answers back to you, and you can interact with you. It's like having your own personalized sales rep right there with you, helping you throughout the configuration process.
What I'm showing here is the example model that you can download from the Help Center. It shows how to use this agent widget, how to provide context to it. For example, you can provide a parametrically generated string that explains the agent, that gives it context about your model, and of course can depend on parameter values. For example, the reason the agent could answer the question on how wide the shelf is because I told it to outputting this information from Grasshopper, right? And of course, this changes parametrically as you change parameters. Another really important input is the tooltips you provide for parameters. And this example model also explains how to do that, how to provide tooltip information, detailed information, what each of the parameters is doing, such that the agent can actually take actions. You can be sure that we're gonna keep improving this in the coming months. This year, it's gonna go much further than it is right now. Being able to take actions in AppBuilder, exporting geometry and whatnot. Actually, we are also thinking of making it possible to connect to other LLMs. Right now, it's OpenAI only, but as we all know, things are moving fast. So these options are going to move fast as well.
Yeah, and of course, everyone needs their own OpenAI API keys, no?
Exactly, and all of this is explained on our documentation pages.
Perfect, and again, this is part of AppBuilder. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for anyone to just try it. Okay, so are there any other topics?
Yeah, there's a question about the AI agent, because we don't support all types of inputs, right, in it. I think for obvious reasons, at least, the inputs we showed in this webinar with Edwin, where you can draw polylines, manipulate gumball, etc. In a dream future, we might extend and be able to support this partly, but it's very complex to handle. Are there other limitations in terms of inputs?
So the types of inputs that are supported currently are all the primitive inputs that you know from Grasshopper. And that's essentially all the numbers, sliders, booleans, or string input, value lists, so the drop downs, and colors. Those are the parameter types that are supported for now. But yeah, the list is definitely going to be extended as we extend parameters. For example, one use case that's used quite often in more complex configurators is a JSON input. So actually inputs that provide more complex structured input data to the configurator, which is not shown to the user. This type of input is one of the next that's going to be supported, likely.
Great.
Perfect.
The amount of questions is slowly slowing down. I just wanted to maybe mention one last thing, which is that especially the two models that we discussed with Edwin, we're going to post them on the tutorials page here. which is rather, I mean, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but it keeps growing. And those models, you can already explore models and apps and download them, and they are quite detailed, right? So in Grasshopper, they go in details about how the features work, and they provide a more, let's say, hands-on approach as reading the documentation pages, which are also there. But that's like the practical way to learn all these features. And so there's models about all the features we talked about, and yes, in the webinar examples here, we're going to add the 2 new models, so the ring one and the pavilion one, probably in the next 24 hours, let's say.
Could you go to the community section of the?
Yes. So Alex mentioned quickly. That's also something that maybe many of you are aware of. But if you have, and that's for all accounts, right? There's this community page where you can see all let's say the most efficient ways to contact us. So the forum, I'm sure you're aware of. But what's available to all users, including free users, is the community catch-ups. I post them every week, and anyone, these days I don't have so many people. It's like a handful every time. So we have a lot of time to discuss, to go a bit in depth about specific issues that you might have. So that's a good way, 1 hour every week to talk about these things. But our users who have paid accounts can also join onboarding sessions with Alex and sometimes guests, depending on what the topic is. And here it's like really one-on-one, or many on one from our team with you guys to go deep about any issue or question or request that you have.
Literally, the rule of thumb is like if you want to have feature requests, if you want to understand a specific feature that we have in our tool set, the community catch-ups are the best place to book a spot, talk with Mathieu. He's literally the head of product. He's going to explain anything you need to know about it. He knows the product roadmap. You can pitch specific features. You can pitch plugins. For example, here I see that Hampus is asking us if Raven is possible. We can support Raven. These type of things, we can discuss them. You can post a forum post, of course, or you can join the community catch-up and tell Mathieu why you need Raven. What's the specific feature of that plugin that you require? Maybe you've been testing App Builder, there's something you don't like, and you would like to literally tell us directly the feature, the feedback to us. The community catch-up is the best place for you to do it. It happens weekly, and you can book your spot. Free accounts, trial accounts, paid accounts, you'll get the chance to speak to us. Then the onboarding sessions is with, also could be that Mathieu takes care of it, but it's usually Alex, our CTO, Edwin, head of project, senior computational developer. And here we actually listen to the problems you're seeing on your code. Right, so maybe you have a doubt on how to fix certain things about your code, about your Grasshopper file, about certain integrations. Obviously, we can only offer this service to clients because, of course, it takes a lot of time. It takes, it's a service that's only available to clients, but it's worth it 100% because this way we can ensure that during your initial stages you're making the most out of our platform. Anyways, through the community section, you get all of these options. We're always thinking of ways on how to provide you better service. So this is one we introduced it, I think, middle last year. We've had very good results because of that. So we encourage anyone with a ShapeDiver account to go and check out the community section. Now, to answer Hampus about Raven, I mean, Verity, of course, I don't know if either of you, Mathieu, Edwin, have you heard of this plugin?
I don't know this yet, so that's, all requests on the forum, we put them in the backlog. I mean, I can already put it now because you asked here.
I know.
Yeah,
okay,
you do it.
Edwin?
No, this plugin is I think is the one that generates. I just checking Food for Rhino, and if it's the same one, is the one that it's been in LinkedIn a lot. That is about generating automatically Grasshopper scripts through generative AI, which makes sense while you are doing the Grasshopper file to help Grasshopper develop. It's like normal scripting. No, now LLMs are able to help developers develop like normal scripting. And now with Raven, it's offering something similar for Grasshopper developers. So basically helping you be more efficient, be faster at creating your Grasshopper scripts. But after you have that, like you upload it to ShapeDiver. You don't need Raven in ShapeDiver. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, in the context of ShapeDiver and a web application, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense while you are developing. It's like when you are creating your scripting software, you use LLMs to create your software, then it's done. That's it. You don't need any more of the OpenAI or whatever you're using. So the same is for Raven. It doesn't make sense.
Unless, Hampus, you have another point of view, of course, you might think that, please go to our forum or join a community, catch up with Mathieu and pitch why we need to add Raven.
Yeah,
Another.
we have a last question. I'd like to. So we have 2 minutes left, and I think it's quite a good question. So, will we have the new features created in the app builder on regular ShapeDiver as well? So geometry selection, like creation, graphs, etc. So that's a good question. Can remind quickly how app builder started. It was for us a lean way to provide all of these new things, and including mostly these new layouts. And being flexible with the layout of the web applications you're developing. And as such, we are still evaluating how many features are going to come to the platform, or how much in the future app builder will replace essentially the models on the platform to some extent, and have all these features there. But obviously, creating a completely free layout as part of our own online platform is something that's maybe not doesn't fit in all cases. So we're still looking at exactly how much we're going to add in the platform, or how much is going to come, basically how we're going to make models on the platform and apps built with app builder meet each other at some point. But that's something we're thinking about, of course. And some of the features, just like geometry selection, I agree, or maybe the new ways to order parameters and etc. we could already have on the platform to some extent. But yeah, it's a strategy and practical question that we're thinking about. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much once again for joining us for another update webinar. Our next one will be around September, the fall update. So make sure you have the marketing notifications turned on your ShapeDiver account, so you receive all our marketing emails. We have 2 types of notifications: the product notifications that you can opt out and opt in, marketing that you can opt out and opt in. But we recommend at least having the marketing on, so you can receive all of our blogs, case studies, things like these webinars. Thank you for obviously joining the webinar. Being ShapeDiver users, we assume most of you have at least a ShapeDiver account. We are always trying to improve our platform, make it more user-friendly. App Builder is obviously a testament of that. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. We want to listen to what you guys like, what you don't like, so we can make this product a lot better. And yeah, we believe the Grasshopper community is unique. We love to help each other out, so we are trying to make our tools as accessible as possible, to provide discounts whenever possible. So yeah, just feel free to reach out to us, and we'll start a communication, and we'll try to work something out together with you. Any other things, Matthew, Alex, Edwin?
I think we're good. Yeah, thanks for everyone who stayed so long. That's like our longest webinar in a while, I think. So yeah, and looking forward to the next one, of course, and to seeing all of you in community catch-ups, forum, for all the classic stuff.
Excellent.
All right.
Have a great morning, have a great evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.